And welcome back to another episode of What a Week. And today is Easter Sunday, so happy Easter Sunday, everybody. And welcome my co-hosts, Mr. C and Tony. Hi.
Big up, everybody.
Hello. Hiya.
Happy Easter, everyone.
How happy Valentine's. Happy Valentine's.
I've lost track of time. I didn't even realize it was Easter. One day is just drifting into another right now.
It really is. It's all feeling a bit the same, isn't it? I like your shirt, Mr. C. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I thought I'd bring a little bit of African colours to the show today.
Yes, bro.
Feeling the vibes. How are we feeling about the weather? The weather has been absolutely spectacular this week. That's the first thing I want to talk about. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it has been until just now. Actually, now it's really clouding over. But,
I spoke too soon.
Yeah, yesterday, the day before, Mr. C's shirt would have been perfect for that. Sun was out.
Listen, I would have been out there in the sun if I wasn't having to do this show. No, but you know what? It's ironic, isn't it? It's the first bank holiday weekend that we've had for years. And sun has shined the Friday, the Saturday. Hasn't been too bad today. Not one drop of rain, but everybody's on lockdown.
Yeah.
This ironic, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Loads of people out in the park with police.
Yeah, here we go. Everybody's going to be going against the lockdown today and this weekend. What do you reckon? No one's going to stay in, are they? Really?
No way. No way. I mean, I just went
out my window.
Yeah, I just went to the park to do a little exercise, and it was packed.
Was it
packed? Police?
Oh,
yeah, you had police riding out on horses, and quite a strong contingency of police were out there stopping people from sunbathing and stuff. Yeah, but there are a lot of people out today.
Yeah, there are. And I read during the week about, especially up north, apparently there's been a major influx of people snitching on their neighbours, saying, I've seen my neighbour be out twice today to do their exercise. This is their second time leaving. Apparently the calls up there are just like peaking of people snitching on each other. Would you be one of them snitches, guys? What would you do if you saw your neighbour in and out often throughout the day?
I've got a neighbour who's doing that. I don't care. It's not my business.
Mr. C?
Me personally, I'll be telling them to get me some of my contraband, innit? Give me a little extra toilet paper now.
Honestly, this weather.
I've already got my share of my quota. I'm banned from my local supermarket.
Oh no! Are you the one who's been teeping up all the tissue? Yeah, the toilet tissue. Is that why?
That's right. And I've got a nice little trade going on, and I sell it to the little corner India man shop there and everything. We've got a good little business going on, man. Hopefully, by the time this thing finishes, I'll be able to afford my Lamborghini.
Oh dear. Well, in connection to the weather, guys, let's talk about the fact of the need to be outside and the need to get fresh air, and also the need to travel. I watched a video this week and it got me thinking. So first of all, let me share this video with you guys. Here's the clip. Are we going to get the clip? Well, I can tell you what the clip was about until it comes in, maybe. The clip was this man. He was basically getting an interview and he was talking about how important travel is. Travel to life, like it just to your normal day life, not just the fact that we're in a lockdown now, but the fact that traveling, it helps broaden your mind. It helps with your children broadening their minds. It helps with your body, with your soul, with your spirit. What do you think? How important is travel? And obviously in this time of lockdown, we can really think about it more now, and because it's not readily available.
No, it definitely. I'm getting a feedback.
I think
I encourage everybody to travel, because traveling opens up your mind and allows you to think totally different from the way you're taught to think. And once you start to travel, you start to realize that a lot of things in life just starts to make sense to you, because now you're seeing people not only that look like you, but people that live different, and some live the same. But for the most part, most people have different states of minds and different directions of how they equate things to life and how they compare things to reality, right? So you start to understand the human race rather than a typical race. And once you start to understand the human race, everything makes sense to you. And a lot of things that you actually was taught to believe becomes and sounds so ignorant. You know what I mean? Because I'm realizing what I've learned in life is that the more I started to travel and I started to get received a certain way by people that, you know, or certain parts of the world that I never thought I would actually be, I started to realize just how connected we are.
Sure.
And it was a crazy shock. Like when going to Germany, for instance, where, I mean, there's not that many black people at all. And they rarely speak English, for that matter. But they can recite every song from top to bottom. Because Miss Saloni was so big in Germany, and for so long, it's like everywhere I went, people recognized who I was. And they treated me like a brother. Yeah. Like, it was I was shocked. And then same thing when I went to Israel. It was like, wow, they know me here? You know what I mean? So those kind of things, it just changes your way of how you just like perceive life in general, man. Everything that you approach differently, man.
So how do we think about that? The fact that it's going to make your life differently, connect to other people, other human beings, and now we're being deprived of it. So all the people that are out in the park, what do you think? They will be out in the park because they need to be. It's a necessity for them to get out and about and connect with other humans. But also traveling is very important. What's your opinion on this, guys? Anybody?
Well, no, I think definitely the guy made some real good points, to be honest with you, because, you know, traveling, when you start to come out of your comfort zone, come out of your own environment, it does make you kind of appreciate and see people differently. So, like, if I take myself, for example, like comedy's taking me all over London. It's taking me all over the UK. It's taking me all over Europe. It's also taken me, like when the first time I went to Europe to do comedy, I went to Germany. I went to do an American Army base in Germany. And that just opened up my eyes completely because I didn't realize how big the American bases were. It taught me a lot about American culture, but again, I was in Germany understanding about American culture. So it was just an eye-opener. But I think you've got to travel in life to really kind of appreciate different cultures. But most importantly, you know, you learn something on that journey yourself, because, you know, even like when I used to travel, I went home from school when I was late. That journey, I'd think about exactly what my mom's going to do to me when I get home. And that opened up my mind. That opened up my mind to, you know, probably living with social services is not a bad idea.
Tony, what do you think about travel and the fact that we're now deprived of it? How is it making you feel?
I think most of us are gonna miss it. This is the time of year where a lot of people are thinking about going away. Normally during the Easter period, all the motorways are chock-a-block and the airports are packed. Nobody can get their flights. So it's a highly unusual time. And to try and get people to stay in their homes when the sun is out and say, well, you can't travel anymore, it must be pretty frustrating. And imagine, since last year, people have booked their holidays for this year, all of which is cancelled. And actually, they can't even make any plans for this year. So it must be very frustrating. But going back to this point about traveling, especially for black people are often concerned about where to go. You know, because we live in a society or system really that's probably not, you know, not helpful in many respects. Many societies are not very helpful or liking black people very much. But actually, when you travel, your eyes do open a lot more. Like the guy said, when he went to Germany, the sort of welcome he received, and you realize it's not all doom and gloom when you travel. If you go to places like Thailand and these other places, you're actually very well received because there's been, you know, so much has been contributed by black people in terms of culture to the world that when you go to various places, you're surprised how much you're embraced. So I think what traveling does for black people specifically, it gives them a bit more balance it's not like the world is everybody's against you. You know, they're just obviously pockets of places where really it just would be unwise to go to, but other parts actually do embrace you. So, you know, it just gives you a little bit more balance, and actually you get to see how other people live differently to you.
Yeah. And how important do you think it is also to visit back to like your motherland, wherever you come from, whether it be the Caribbean? How about just visiting Africa in general? Because as a Black person, you know, we're always taught that's where we all originate from. So how important is it, do you think, to go back to them sort of lands, to see how we live there, to see how we're thriving there? Because obviously in this day and age and in this climate, we get shown very little and sometimes very negative imagery of back in Africa and what happens there. So how important do you think it is for a Black person to travel back to Africa?
I think it's the number one thing. It's the number one thing, because until you actually go and experience Africa in its full glory, you know, your perception of it is always going to be based on another person or another culture's viewpoint, which is mostly negative. And I think that this first came to mind for me when there was a terrorist situation in a shopping mall in Nigeria. This was probably around about 10 or 12 years back. I saw it on the news, and the first thing what kind of subconsciously came to my conscious mind was like, this is the first time I've ever seen a shopping mall of Nigeria on British television. Yeah. Until then, I didn't even know they had them.
Yeah.
Because we've never been shown that kind of image. So it made me think, what else have they never shown me about Africa or about Nigeria, about all the other countries, apart from, you know, hungry children and flies going around them with their big belly? You understand? Because everything we see about Africa is that they can't feed themselves and it's poor, it's poverty stricken. But, you know, the reality is there's a lot of wealth. There's a lot of wealthy people there. Even like, as I said, again, I always use comedy as my reference point. Some of my fellow comedians from Africa, they are multi-millionaires. They're mega stars. You know, AY comedian has got 2 million people following him. So, you know, there's no British comedian who's got 2 million people following them. No Black British comedian's got 2 million people following them. And this is a guy who I didn't know of until around about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So, you know, I think when you go to Africa, you that's the only way you can truly embrace who you are as a king or as a queen. That, you know, you come from richness and you come from greatness, and when you go there, you can reclaim that again. You don't feel like a minority anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
And we've just had a question through. Tony, how do you think it's going to be impacted now after this Corona finally goes, or whatever happens, and all the restrictions are lowered and we're able to travel again? Do you think you're going to be one of them people that will travel again, or will you be a bit cautious now? Well, obviously you're never not going to travel. Some people, I don't know, maybe some people are going to quit traveling now, but how do you feel, Tony? Are you going to travel again, and will you take extra precautions, and will you feel extra cautious now that we've had this pandemic?
As far as traveling again, yes, absolutely. Am I going to take special precautions? Not really, because if the restrictions are lifted and we're all okay, then it shouldn't be a problem. You know, traveling is just a part of who people are. People want to go to different places, want to meet different people. Just going back to your point about particularly Afro-Caribbeans, should all make it a point really to carry their children to their places, those islands from which they originate. It's very important. I mean, as a prerequisite to understanding culture. Unfortunately, a lot of us, of course, we sort of fall by the wayside where that is concerned. And our children grow up, knowing they come from Caribbean culture, but identifying more with English. Yeah. Because they haven't had a chance to go to the Caribbean, spend a month, you know, and live the life and eat the food and see the culture and be embraced by their family. So those roots are not strengthened if that's not done. And so from a first point of call, I would say, yes, Caribbean parents really should take their children to the Caribbean, even if it's for a 2-week holiday at least, just to see what it's like, to see the place. So these children can say, yes, I've been there, I've met my grandmother, I know who my uncles and aunts are. And then from there, yes, I mean, Africa, I believe, should definitely be a stop. And particularly, I think, some of the historical sites there and some of the cities in Africa, as Mr. C mentioned, that, you know, have technology and have great cities that are there for us to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think,
in addition to that,
yeah.
no, sorry, Terry.
No, go
I was
ahead.
just saying that, you know, there's a good point what you made there, Tony, but what if your budget can't stretch? If you've got like 3 children,
Yeah.
to take them to the Caribbean or to take them to Africa is a tall stretch, because, you know, there's no kind of easy jet flying to Africa, no easy jet flying to the Caribbean. So you have, this is where you have to get creative and everything. So you top up your Oyster card and you take them Peckham and Brixton. What you do? It's the next best thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, but if you can't go, then this is something
Right.
where probably people have to band together as family, and, you know, like it might be 1 year, all of you as a family, you send one particular fraction of your family. Next year, everybody saves up and sends another person. So, you know, you got to find different strategies, is what I'm saying.
Right. And, I mean, another way to do that is to feed your child's mind. So by the time they get to 18, 19, 20, become more independent, then to encourage them to go and do that search on their own. If you can't do it, if you've got 3 kids and it's beyond your capabilities, but then, you know, as the kids get older, encourage them to make their own search and find out their roots.
Yeah, very important.
Good point.
Yeah. And I was going to say also that it leads me on to thinking about schools and how strict they are with taking your children out of school to go on holidays and things like that, and how they will actually fine you. And some people, you know, get locked up for taking their kids out of school, when I think they can actually learn a lot more being out of school sometimes if you're traveling. Even if you're not traveling to somewhere that's your own country, you could be going to Dubai, for example. They could come back with a few Arabic words and then learning of the whole Dubai culture and whatsoever. So I just feel that sometimes the schooling system, where the way they block you from taking your child out of school for holidays, is really sad, because like you said, Mr. C, sometimes in the holiday time, it can be very expensive to travel, and it can put a lot of restrictions on people if they've got multiple kids. They can't take their children at that time, but they can take them maybe a bit earlier. So I definitely would love for that to be reviewed somehow, but I don't know, the possibilities are quite slim, I'm very sure. But
just going back to Mr. C's point though about staying local, if you can't travel, then certainly finding festivals of Caribbean origin, you know, things to do with the culture would be good to take the kids to, you know, sort of certain celebrations. I'm not necessarily meaning carnival necessarily, but you know, you have right. But things that are specific to your island's culture, for example. See, if they have festivals, and to take the kids there, explain what these festivals are, how you used to do them when you were a little girl, or your mum used to do them. You know, you've got to put something in your child's mind beyond here, because they're born here, but they're not from here.
Yeah, definitely. And in saying that, this is a nice segue into, how do you feel if Carnival gets cancelled this year? Because that is a very big cultural event that, you know, I know most of my people go to. So, and if this social distancing gets continued on, I've got a very big feeling, in fact, not a small feeling, a very big feeling that Carnival could be cancelled for the first time, like whatever. How are we feeling about that? Mr. C?
They can't cancel Carnival. Jamaicans will lose their mind. What will happen is, if they cancel, they will cancel the official Carnival, but trust me, there will be an unofficial Carnival going on, because some people are going to string up sound system, some man's going to get a jerk pan or whatever, you know, steel pan, and something will happen. Something will happen. I can't believe Carnival will pass unrecognized, because it means too much to us. It means too much. It means too much to us, man. You know.
What about you, Tony? How do you feel about, do you go to Carnival, Tony, or?
No, not anymore. I used to, but I just can't take the crowds as I get older. But to be honest, the Carnival is prepared for a year in advance. So now, basically, costumes will be getting prepared, bands and band launches and sound systems, and you know, arrangements with trucking companies to carry the speakers would be going on. Now, all of this is locked down now. So even if this was lifted in May or June, there is absolutely no time to actually prepare to have a proper carnival. So the likelihood is that it's not going to be on. And the other argument will be the government will say, well, look, we've had to stop all football games There'll be the season doesn't start again until September and October. So Carnival just going to be one of those events that is going to have to be put aside. So I'll be surprised, even if you try and do it underground, you know, the police are going to ride up on that and crash that. So I doubt it's going to take place this year.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Make them come. We're ready for them.
All go to Mr. C's house for a mini carnival instead. How about that?
I'll be like this because I handcuffed Tony.
All right. So, this week on social media, I spend a lot of time on social media now, I'd say, especially more so because of the lockdown. It helps me keep connected with friends. It helps me see what's going on without being overwhelmed by the news and so on and such forth. And there's also a lot of funny things and funny people like Mr. C that I follow, which put a smile on my face sometimes. So, I would say that social media has become a very big part of a lot of people's lives. But some people see social media as quite negative. And I just wanted to ask about the fact that social media can be quite a positive thing, I think, and especially at this stage where we have to get creative because many people are not working. Mr. C, I'm sure you can really relate with this, like not being able to physically go to shows and stuff like that. Has social media become a big platform for you to help you? And the reason why I say this is because I saw a video, and I think I'm going to share it with you guys now, of this guy's journey, how he used social media to help with his business, especially during lockdown. Let's have a watch of this.
Cliche, but when you find out what you love to do and you're passionate about something, then success can come really quick. At the time, I didn't have a single penny. Like, I literally borrowed a bit of money from my mum, and I couldn't afford a van, so I had a little trailer, trailer that clipped onto the back of my bike. And I used to get up every morning at 5:30, 6 a.m., start my boot camp. 15 stations, I'd be like, because in my head, 15 people are going to turn up, every time. And sometimes, nobody would turn up. Sorry. This ain't happen. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. Rain or shine, I'd go to Richmond Station. I had a little flyer that I handed down. I used to get on people's nerves every day. They'd hate me. They'd just be in such a rush, didn't want to see my face. And I'd stand there for 2 hours. But if one of them came, it was like another client. It was another chance to grow the business. And I kept doing that. I just kept going back. And you wouldn't believe how many times I'd get there and there'd be nobody there. Eventually, it became a little business. And then I started to share some stuff on social media. I started posting recipes and stuff on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And then I had this idea one day, right? I'm going to share a recipe and I'm going to do it in 15 minutes and I'm going to call it Lean in 15. Every day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, I'd record it and share it on Instagram. I had no idea I was ever going to have a book deal or monetize my social media or create an online business. I really didn't. It's not about making money. You shouldn't try and always think, I've got to make money. It's all about the salary. If you make a difference to someone and you make a change in someone's life and make them feel good about themselves, you can do amazing things. And I do book tours and I meet these women and these guys that have had, bulimia and anorexia, or they've been overweight, or they've got diabetes, and they do these plans, they follow my ideas, and it's changing their lives, and that's what it's all about for me. Like, all I ever try to do every day is to get one person exercising and feeling good, and to get one person cooking a healthy recipe. So many people will say your ideas are no good and it won't work. You will get rejection. You're going to have doors slammed in your face all the time. You can't just give up when you get one knockback. And the 3 things I live by, is 3 simple things. It's work hard, have fun, and be nice. If you do those 3 things, you'll do well, you'll succeed, and you'll have a great life. So good luck, everybody, and go and smash it. I know it's a cliche, but when you find...
Such a lovely, positive video, and I think it puts social media on a positive light because, as he said, he's used all the platforms in order to start something new, and he thought nothing was going on for him, and it's now progressed into a bigger business, and he's able to start making money from it. So, Mr. C, let's talk about social media and how you use it and how the positive effects of social media for you.
So, well, the positive effects of social media for me is that I can keep a good track on people and without having to have any kind of contact with them at all. So I don't have to phone them, I don't have to talk to them. I can just watch. Well, okay, so that's where I got this. Okay, all right. What? No. Put down that kit. No, I can watch people's business now. Seriously, I think social media, even like now, it allows me to still have a connection with my fan base. People who like my style of comedy, people who like coming to comedy shows, because there's nothing going for them. So there's this disconnect between like my profession and our fan base at the moment. And social media is probably the only thing that's keeping us ticking over, and keeping us current in their lives, and keeping them, more importantly, current in my life as well. So it's a good thing. It is a good thing.
And do you think that social media can help propel your career at this time, especially in this period where everyone's looking at you, everyone's on social media? This could be the time, maybe, Mr. C, where you could gain more followers and so on and such forth, and show more people what you can do. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think definitely that's a possibility. I mean, like the platform that we're on now, a lot of people using Zoom, StreamYard. So again, whereas before, say like 5 years ago, if you wanted to have a program like this, you'd be trying to beg like one of the terrestrial channels to get it done. Yeah. Whereas now we can create our own program and post it on social media. We don't have to wait for Channel 4 to give us our own program. We can do it right here, right now. So I think it gives you a lot of scope to try new ideas. Not to be fearful of failing. Yeah. But most importantly, it gives you a real good foundation and base to kind of like gain fans, followers, and most importantly, to learn your craft.
Yeah, definitely.
So that when that big time comes,
you're ready.
Ready.
How about you, Tony? Do you use social media a lot, Tony? And what positive effects have you seen social media having, especially in this time of the pandemic?
I use it in as much as I sort of look for bargains and deals that you would not get anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So social media sort of allows you to find things that are being sold in different parts of the world that you might need at a price cheaper than what you'd pay for it at home. So from that perspective, I find myself always scrolling through, and I like to keep up with what my Facebook friends are doing. And I think that from a business perspective, like Mr. C, if you're a comedian, and myself, I'm trying to sort of promote myself, doing a little bit of DJing here and there. I think you can build a brand, and especially now when everybody's at home and most people are scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. Yeah. If you're building a name and a brand for yourself, now's the time to do it. So when this is all over and everybody goes back to their normal way of life, you might have branded yourself in their mind.
Yeah, very good point. And moving on from that, do you think this 5G that's coming out is needed then? Is it necessary to take on more? We need more 5G because we need to do more online. What do you think, Mr. C? I know you're very passionate and you have a lot to say about this. Let's talk about the 5G and what's been happening with social media and 5G this week. Fill us in, Mr. C.
Right. Well, 5G. Wow, what a thing! This week, 5G now. Obviously, we've all received a little WhatsApp message or messages linking 5G to coronavirus. And what happened this week was, for me, something which really upset me. The fact that a guy by the name of David Icke was being interviewed by a guy called Brian Rose for London Live TV or London Real TV, and he was speaking about the links and the connections between 5G and coronavirus and what's happening now and various other things. And they put it up on YouTube, and there was probably around about 12 complaints. And then now YouTube have taken that step where they're saying that they are stopping any conspiracy theories as regards to linking coronavirus and 5G. They're going to pull anybody's posts down. Also, WhatsApp have now limited the amount of times you can forward on messages to try and reduce it because they're branding it under fake news. So the thing is, it's like they want the information, they want 5G for us to get information out quicker. But it's like the information that we're supposed to be getting, they're trying to bring it down. It's the same thing like what Tony was saying about the lemon and using ginger to help with, your immune system. Oh, no, you got to take that down. So it's like, what kind of news do you want us to get quickly? Yeah. Yeah. And what is the stuff that you don't want us to get at all? So I don't think we need anything any faster than it is. Oh, most definitely. Definitely. It's all about surveillance, control, and obedience is what it's about.
I think the way it's sold to the public, okay, it's about getting faster connections and having your information downloaded to you faster, which of course everybody's going to want. And most people who get their news from the mainstream will accept that 5G is a necessity. Now, I don't know the science behind whether 5G is actually causing this or not, but I do see a few anomalies. One, the government came out and basically started saying, well, you know, this whole 5G conspiracy is rubbish without explaining why it's rubbish.
Yeah.
So that that was a red flag for me because well, okay, if you're going to come out and, well, first of all, if you're going to come out to actually dismiss a conspiracy theory, that means that there's got to be something going on. If you then don't explain why 5G is rubbish, but just say it's rubbish, and then act in an authoritarian manner by saying, well, look, we're going to stop, you know, Facebook posts, WhatsApps, Instagram that talks about 5G, then you've got to start wondering, well, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't. But what's also interesting is that there was a joint select committee in America discussing whether there were any tests or health and safety tests with 5G, and there has been none. They've rolled it out, but there's been none, and so there's no documentation to say that this is healthy for you. And I can't remember. Maybe somebody can remind me. There was a country was it Sweden last week that decided not to roll out 5G because of health and safety concerns.
There's 2 European countries at the moment who have done that. Sweden's one. I can't remember who the other country is. Belgium. I think Belgium have done it as well.
Right. So the question is, what's all this about? You know, if it's rubbish and it's not 5G, and why are government officials coming out and saying, well, it's rubbish, not explaining themselves? And then why are Facebook and all these social media platforms going through the trouble of banning information concerning 5G? So that's my issue.
And the other additional thing is, like, now if we're saying that this is fake news and we have to take it down because it's fake news, then we have to go back and think to ourselves, when they was trying to spin the Iraqi war and saying that they had weapons of mass destruction, that was the biggest load of fake news ever. Yeah. So does that mean now that we banned, you know, our politicians from saying things? Because sometimes they talk a load of absolute garbage. And then let's go even further with fake news. That means now from now on, I don't want to see no adverts for Christmas with Santa Claus. I don't want to see no more things about white Jesus, because that's fake news. Yeah. So, you know,
we could take it far.
Where do we draw the line?
It's a bit like the authoritarian Caribbean dad who says you can't go out because I said so.
Yeah.
And no reasoning given, you know, and you're just left sort of shrugging your shoulders saying, well, something's wrong here as to, you know, why is all this going on?
And
Mate,
also,
you can't say that anything's wrong.
Say that again.
If you're still living in your Caribbean dad's house, you can't say something's wrong. You have to think something's wrong.
Yeah.
You can't say it. That's your father's house.
And even thinking it could be very dangerous.
Right.
Don't make it to the front of the face. Yeah.
Right. But isn't that true now? We are living in that Caribbean father's house, aren't we? So we do have to be careful, even what we say, what we think, and what we say, because if we start saying things, that's going to be censored, and you never know where that's going to end.
That's true. And talking of the politicians, Tony, I believe you had some information on how these politicians are the most unruly ones, aren't they, Tony?
Well, it's nothing new, to be honest. I think people have heard about it. I think it was the Scottish. What's the position that she holds? The senior medical professional person who tells the nation that you should not go outside, and then she was caught going to a holiday home with family and friends and having a good old time. And I think that was an embarrassment to the government, and they had to sort of slowly just kind of fire her. And we also had, I believe, was it the shadow secretary? I can't believe from the Labour Party. He was found driving 140 miles to bring groceries to his elderly parents, and he said, well, they were isolated, so this is why I had to go out. But then he's saying to you and I, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, if we're going to die by going out, right? If it's so dangerous to go outside, but yet politicians are going outside, well, what message is that sending to the nation? Is it as bad as what they're saying?
And yet another conspiracy off the back of that is I've heard a lot of people question about Boris being in the ICU and, you know, not having enough information on it. Some people want to see more pictures. I've heard all sorts this week talking about that. What have we heard, and what are your thoughts, guys?
I was personally hoping to see him with a ventilator mask on, you know, like, you know, pray for Boris on the, you know, on the front of the Sun newspaper. But yeah, it was quite surprising. There was no camera shots, no pictures, just sort of, yeah, Boris is on the mend. And so, I mean, what do you make of that? I really don't know.
Well, I think it was difficult for them to get any pictures of Boris, because when they went to go and take pictures of him, he looked exactly the same how he's always looked. He's always looked sweaty. His hair is a mess. It looks like he got fever 24/7. Boris does already. And you can't tell whether he's breathing properly or not, because he's like, that's how he talks. That's how he talks normally.
I mean, what would be the reason behind him faking something like that and pretending that he's got the coronavirus? What do you think that would do for the nation?
It gets the nation behind him, isn't it? It's like you get, because that's one thing we like to see an underdog in this country, isn't it? We love to see an underdog. It's like, you know what? I don't like Boris. I don't like, but you know what? He's trying, isn't he? He's trying, and you know, you wouldn't want your worst enemy to go through that. But Boris, no, mate. If he, especially if he gets well today, yeah, like Easter Sunday, it's, oh my God, it's like Jesus, isn't it?
Do you think that's what people will think? What about the fact that Idris had it? Well, Idris, some people are saying Idris had it. Could he have been paid to have said that just so that he could connect with us black people and tell us, you know, we're not immune? Because apparently that was one of the stories, that us black people felt that we were immune to the corona. So maybe he got paid to show us people, us black people, and so that we could connect and say that, oh, Idris has had it, so we can get it too. What do you think to that?
Well, number one, I know Idris, and I know people who know Idris very well. He's not that guy. He would never compromise his culture or his people for the sake of money. He would never do that. He would never make that judgment. So if Idris says he's got coronavirus, or he's tested positive for coronavirus, then that is what has happened with him. However, I do think that you know, you can't trust who's testing you, because there's lots of reported deaths as regards to coronavirus, but when you talk to people, you find that they've never been tested, but they've been diagnosed as having coronavirus. So a lot of the symptoms are so vague, you know, like temperatures, difficulty breathing. We're going on like none of these symptoms happened before coronavirus. So some people could be displaying these symptoms which are not. But as soon as you go into a hospital, because of the fear and people panicking so much, they're gonna identify you or diagnose you as having coronavirus, because they've already admitted they haven't got enough kits to test everybody. So how are you now testing all of those people who have died?
Yeah, agreed.
I'm going to give the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt on this occasion and say that he probably did have it and he was in hospital resting. I don't know one way or the other, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I know a couple of people recently who have died, who had underlying conditions, but nevertheless they caught the virus and they died. And interestingly, the cause of death on their death certificate was coronavirus, although, you know, they had other issues going on. So that's quite interesting. And I'm wondering whether that, you know, the way that deaths are being recorded have to do with the way the figures are inflated to actually frighten us.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I just want to pick up on something, because yesterday I spent a lot of time looking at the figures, because, you know, you can see so much online, it's public information. So I was trying to look at the amount of numbers of deaths last year in this particular same time, to see if there's been a big dramatic increase in the number of deaths this year. And what I stumbled on, which I found interesting, the first 2 weeks of coronavirus, there was 512 deaths of coronavirus. Out of the 512 deaths, only I think 12 of them were died at home. 2 of them died in a hospice. When you think about it, a hospice is where you're waiting death. You've got terminal cancer and you're waiting death. The rest of them are all registered at the hospital. So that told me something. That means like, so out of 512, 2 in the hospice, around about 12 at home, and the rest of them were in a hospital. So it seems to me, if you've got coronavirus and you stay at home, it's done a better chance than going to a hospital.
Yeah.
Or it's the hospital correctly diagnosing them, as Tony's saying as well.
Tony, did you want to have something to say? I feel like you was going to.
No, I think just to touch on what we spoke about last week, really, is that if you find yourself with the symptoms, do as much as you can for yourself.
Yeah.
Before going into hospital. I mean, you know, someone that I know who went into hospital, we never saw him again, and the next thing we heard that he was dead and they were going to cremate his body. So, you know, there's a lot that we can do now. I think, you know, we spoke about boosting your immune system, you know, and taking some natural remedies if you start seeing the first signs of a fever or, you know, a cold or a cough, and be your own doctor as much as you can.
There was one other thing that two things that I wanted to point out as regards to that. There's 2 really interesting videos that I saw this week as regards to people who had contracted coronavirus. One was a woman who said that she contracted coronavirus, and she was talking about the difficulty what she had breathing. And she said what she did was she got an onion, cut up an onion, put it in a cloth, crushed the onion up, and she put that on her chest. And she said immediately she got a relief from the pain. That was one thing. Another was I saw a doctor in America who contracted coronavirus, and he was talking about, again, that in his head, what he had done was coronavirus. It wants you to lie down. It wants you to stay flat. It wants you to, so that it can sit down on your lungs properly. And what he said was the best way to fight coronavirus, if you've got it, is to get up, is to be active. Do not just lay down and die or wait until, you know, it's too late that you've got to go hospital. Fight it. Fight it. Get up, do what you've got to do, sweat it out, whatever, but fight it. Do not lay down and let this thing take you, because once it's got you lying down, it will sap every little bit of strength it can take out of you. So get up, be mobile, be active. Yes, you're going to feel pain. You know, try the thing with the onions. You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And most importantly, do observe the social distancing thing. I mean, this is real. People are dying, and until, of course, it's given the all clear. I mean, you don't really want to take chances by assuming, oh, it's a conspiracy, so we can just go out there and hang out as a group and stuff. No, don't do that. Try and basically keep the distancing. You know, follow the government guidelines as much as possible. You know, and keep yourself safe.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a comment just come up from somebody saying, don't wait too long to go to hospital. I'm not too sure about that, to be honest with you, because, again, if you wanted to go to hospital, you have to be of sound mind, and not just sound. You have to have an extraordinary mindset if you want to go to hospital if you've got coronavirus, because this is what your reality is most likely going to be. And, you know, anybody who's been in hospital, tell me if I'm wrong. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to be taken in the ambulance by yourself. You're going to be in a ward with other coronavirus victims or people who've got coronavirus. I've told you the numbers already. Out of those who've died, near enough 90% of them are in hospital. So you're going to be seeing death all around you. And if you're not mentally prepared to do that, then there's no way you're going to be able to hack that. So the best thing to do is to fight it in your own yard, unless you feel that you cannot go on anymore and you have to go hospital. Fight it in your house, because at least you're going to have the support of your family, your friends. They're going to be able to do juicing for you, give you good food, and you're not going to be around death. So that's what I would say. That would be my advice.
I purchased this week a thermometer, and I can't remember what the name of this. It's a little gadget that you put your finger in, but it tells you how much oxygen you've got in your body. Right. And basically, what that alerts you to, it alerts you to how serious this thing is. So, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I think while there might be things you could do at home, you're probably going to be very limited at some point.
at some point.
You know,
Yeah,
you're just gonna have to go into the hospital. So we don't want to try and encourage.
What are you going to hospital for, Tom?
Well, I mean, I guess
what is it you're going to hospital for?
I guess basically it's for oxygen, isn't it? They're going to put you on a ventilation to give you the oxygen that you can't get at home, because I know. Listen,
that's not what they're doing with the ventilators. With the ventilators, they're using the ventilators to massage to make your lungs move, but that's not necessarily giving you oxygen. So again, this is what I'm saying. You have to do your own research, because if you leave it up to these people, you're gonna have a bad experience. I'm telling you. So you're gonna have to do your research, man. They're using the ventilators wrong. Do your research. Do your research. Seriously. And this is one of the things what we've got to do. We've got to stop saying we need to go hospital. We need to go doctors, because what are they doing? What are they giving us? How are they treating us?
Someone just said people are disappearing in the hospital system and getting cremated under the government guidelines. So yeah, it's very sad that when people go into hospital, you can't, and you're just simply not allowed to go in and see them. So anything could be happening behind them doors. And we're just left outside here guessing, really, I suppose, and hoping that what they've said is true. So we definitely need to do our research as much as we can, because I just feel that, I don't know, it's very, very, very hard to find out what's going on. And will we ever know the truth? That's the question I want to end on. What do you think? Do you think we're ever going to know the truth?
I think what you have to do, you have to know the truth for yourself. So like if you live in, say, like I live in Northwest London, I know I'm not going to Northwick Park Hospital. There's been too many deaths in Northwick Park Hospital. So what I would do, I would research the hospitals around my area and see which ones have a better success rate of having coronavirus victims. That's what everybody should be doing. What's the best hospital for you to go to? Not which is the nearest, which is the best hospital. Which hospital gives you the best results and the best chances of beating this thing? That's my final words.
And what about you, Tony?
I think in 75 years' time, when all the secret files are opened, when this whole generation has been wiped out and a completely new generation exists, they will look back and see the truth as to what went on. We're completely kept in the dark, really. And you know, if you're living off a diet of mainstream news, then that's your truth. That's your truth. And people who live off that truth, they're going to follow the direction. Other people who are thinking about it are going to try and take some matters into their hands. So it all depends on really what type of person you are. But ultimately, it is your life. And, you know, when you hand it over to someone else, it's a risk. There's no guarantee that you'll pull through. Some have, as we've seen on the news, but many haven't.
Yeah. I think in conclusion, I had something this week where this man was talking, and he said at the end of his speech, talking about everything, he said, you know what? The best thing to do is look after your spiritual, because to live physically in this day and age is proven to be very hard. So I'd say to everybody, look after your spiritual being, whatever that makes you. Look after yourself internally. Make sure your mind, your body, your soul is feeling right. And therefore, I think we can combat a lot of this sickness if we just try and keep our minds healthy. So on that note, it's been a wonderful week. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Mr. C. It's always a pleasure. I always enjoy so much listening to you guys as well, and I think the audience do too. Until next week, I guess that's bye from us, and please stay safe.
Bye for now.